What are some very creepy facts?
Female mummies in ancient Egypt were always more decomposed than their male counterparts. They discovered that this was because male bodies were embalmed a lot sooner than female bodies. Female bodies were kept at the family home until they started to decompose in order to avoid necrophilia at the embalmers.
One reason that crows and ravens are associated with death is because they would often follow armies as they marched to battle. Being both carrion birds and extremely intelligent, they realized that a large group of armed men marching on one direction meant that there would be a tasty meal of corpses to eat soon afterwards.
In the US, if someone is kidnapped and not found within about a day, then there is a 97% chance the kidnapped person is dead. There is a parasite that enters a fish's mouth, eats the tongue and replaces itself as the fish's new tongue.
Tarantulas can swim.
When creating the Pirates of the Caribbean ride at Disneyland, they couldn't create skeletons that looked realistic enough, so they used real human skeletons. They've since removed all of them except one. It wasn't until 1987 that the American Academy of Pediatrics declared it unethical to operate on newborns without anesthesia. Until surprisingly recently, the medical community felt it would be dangerous to give infants anesthesia and believed that they didn't feel pain.
Thank God I was born in 1987.
It was once discovered that a fir tree was growing inside a human body. Artyom Sidorkin went to the doctors suspecting something wrong with his lungs. The doctors thought they were dealing with a tumor, but turns out he had inhaled a fir tree seed which had sprouted and had begun growing in his lungs.
Mount Everest is covered in frozen corpses because removing them is very unsafe and time-consuming. They are easily viewed from the climbing routes and some are used as trail markers.
Imagine being totally aware of someone performing CPR but you physically can't move or respond. Well, that's what happens when you get bitten by a blue-ringed octopus. You have approx 6 minutes between being bitten and someone starting CPR to keep your heart and lungs functioning to ensure you survive, all whilst being totally aware of what is happening to you. Neurotoxins are fun. Human brains when they dry out smell like cat piss, that stinky ammonia smell. Worked in a nerve for 17 years in court. Had a gunshot to the head come in and a chunk fell onto my shoe and didn't notice. While driving home was like, what, did my cat piss in the car or something? Went to take my shoes off and there was
A stonefish, an incredibly venomous fish living in tropical waters mostly off the coast of Australia and parts of us, can cause pain that only escalates with time. Eventually the pain will subside, but even after the barb is removed, patients have reported increasing pain 12 hours later. Without antivenom or denaturing the venom with excessive heat, the pain builds and builds until the patients request euthanasia.
They used real corpses in the 1982 film Poltergeist for the ending pool scene. The actress did not know until after the scene was filmed.
Not just Poltergeist, but up until the last few decades actual skeletons and bodies were used in Hollywood productions simply because it was cheaper than hiring prop guys to do it. Any old movie you watch, chances are the skeletons are real because you could saunter into any old medical supply store and buy a whole disused skeleton from a university medical department for a reasonable price.
There are more creatures in your mouth than there are people on Earth.
Your brain can play tricks on you to make you see monsters in the mirror, called the Troxler effect. The Troxler effect is an optical illusion that affects how you perceive things, both visually and mentally.
Chickens are so dumb they can accidentally peck each other, and if one of them feels meat in the other chicken, then all chickens will peck that chicken to death and eat it.
Eventually there will be more dead people on Facebook than alive.
More than 700 people die annually due to the doctor's bad handwriting.
Elmer McCurdy was a failed Old West outlaw. His preserved body was put on display in a traveling carnival, and years later he was eventually assumed to be mannequin until he was used on set for the TV show The $6 Million Man. His arm accidentally fell off during the shoot, revealing bone and muscle, and that he was a corpse, not a mannequin.
Here are more creatures in your mouth than there are people on Earth.
There are more cells of foreign creatures in and on your body than there are of your own cells.
If you stifle a sneeze, there is a chance you can damage organs in your head, including eye blood vessels, rupturing your eardrums, and possibly rupture a brain aneurysm. Which means there is a small chance stifling a sneeze can kill you. Better to be the loud ass with the sneeze that can be heard around the world than a dead loud ass cause someone told you to stifle that sneeze.
I once read that you should play dead if a bear attacks you, unless they start licking your wounds because that means they plan to eat you. That still haunts me to this day.